This video is going to introduce you to just some basic ideas about a Venn diagram, what it is, and how to use it. So this first example is going to illustrate a Venn diagram having two sets. A Venn diagram is a visual way to represent the interaction of sets, and typically it's 2 or 3 sets. It's possible to do a diagram with more sets than that, but it's typically 2 or 3. Each set is represented by a circle, and the circles overlap if there's some intersection, and they live within a rectangle, which represents the universal set. So you can see here, because there are 2 circles, there are 2 sets at play, set A and set B, and they live within this rectangle, which contains all of the elements within whatever universe you're looking at. You can represent these ideas of intersections, unions, and complements pictorially with the Venn diagram. So let's see how to illustrate these. So for number 1, I'm going to illustrate set A. Usually that means just coloring it in. So if I want to do that, simply color in this circle. And the shaded region, it's shaded in red, represents set A. So everything within that shaded region is set A. And that would be number 1. Okay, let's look at number 2. So number 2 is set B. So if you want to represent set B within the Venn diagram, that would be everything that lives within this second circle. So this circle represents B. So by coloring or shading in set B, that would be the visual representation of set B. Okay. Number 3. This little symbol is not or complement. So this could be read as the complement of set A or what is not in A. So if we want to know what's not in A, we could look at the circle A and then shade everything else, right? Everything that's not in set A. So that would include everything in the universe, all the rectangle, right? And then of course everything in set B. So we're just basically shading everything except circle A. And that would represent the complement of set A. Okay, let's look at number 4. So number 4 asks us to represent A union B. So the union is when you bring all of the elements from each set together in one large set. So the union contains the elements of set A, and then the union will also contain all of the elements from set B. So to represent it with the Venn diagram, you would shade in all of set A along with all of set B, and that would be the union. So that picture represents A union B. Okay, so really quickly, let's just make a note here. The U means union. That includes all elements from each set. So when I think of this, I think of a union like a marriage, right? Marriage. Person A brings all their stuff, person B brings all their stuff, and you bring all the stuff together in one house. So it's kind of like that. Everything from set A along with everything from set B comes together to be one big set with all of the stuff. The other one is intersection, and it kind of looks like a little N. This is only what's in common. So it's only what elements are in common. it's repeated. It's in set A and it's also in set B. All you're looking for there is commonality. So that's the difference. And then you've got this little symbol that means complement. Or you can say the elements that are not in that set. Okay, so we did number 4. That was the union. Now we're going to do number 5. Number 5, notice, is the intersection. So we want to know, what is the intersection between sets A and B? In other words, what do they have in common? So if I do set A like this, and then I do set B like this, what they have in common is going to be in red and blue. It's going to be shaded both directions, right? So notice that that intersection, what they have in common, is this small kind of football shape in between the two. That, let me do it in green here, represents the intersection of A and B. So A intersect B, and let me just make sure I just shade that part so you see. A intersect B is this part right here. So that would represent A intersect B. All right, number 6, we're going to have an intersection between not A and B. And so that's something else I should tell you over here. The union, we say or, so we say what's in A or B. The intersection, you will see the word and used, so we would say what's in A and B. And then this symbol is not. The complement, we say not. Okay, so what's not in A and in B? So for this one, what's not in A? Well, we did that earlier. This was number 3. It's everything out here, right? So that's what's not in A. But then we want to know what is also in B. So it can't be in A, but it does have to be in B. So we would erase all the stuff out here. Right? So this is not in B. We need it to be in B and not in A. So if we want it to be inside of B and not in A, it would be all of this part of the circle B right here. So all of this in blue is in circle B, is in set B, but it's not in set A. So that would be the visual representation for number 6. Okay, so if you haven't been doing this, I would suggest pausing, trying number 7, checking with me. If you get it right, great. If not, you can listen to the explanation and then do the same thing for number 8. So number 7, we want to know what's in A or not B. So or means I just get to add it all together, right? Everything that's in either part gets to go into the set. So let's do green this time. What's in A? So everything within this circle is in A, right? So I'm going to shade all of that in. Okay, union, I'm just going to add to that set, not B. So what's not in set B? Well, that would be everything out here in the universe, right? In this universal set. So just exclude circle B. Everything else should be shaded. So that would represent number 7. That's A union, not B. Notice that this section let's see. Notice that this section is in B, but that's okay because it's in A. So the union, if it's in either part, it gets to go to the answer, right? The intersection is different. Okay, 8, we have A union B, and then we're going to do the opposite of that, right? So A union B, that's in the parentheses, so I would do that first. So that would be anything that lies within either of these circles. And I'm getting slightly out of the lines, but hopefully you get the idea that it's everything within these circles. Okay, so that's A union B. Now I have to say, well, what's the complement of that? What's the complement of that? So what is not yellow? Well, that would be everything out here. So it's basically the universe, right? The universal set minus what's in the circles. So the answer to this would just be what's shaded in green. So if you want me to shade it, take all that off. It's going to be everything that's outside of the circles, but within the universe. So it's all of this part. Whoops. So that would be number 8. For the next 6 examples, we're going to look at what happens when we're trying to illustrate visually with a Venn diagram for 3 sets. So the previous example had 2 sets, A and B. This one has 3 sets, A, B, and C. And we want to see the sections depending on what we're looking for. These can get complicated, so you really need to make sure you're thinking, step by step. Key thing is, remember union, you're just bringing more stuff along. So the set's just getting larger. So you can shade each piece as you go. The intersection, you're looking for commonalities. So sometimes that can be a little trickier. So for A, union B, union C, it's all unions. So you're just going to shade in each piece and keep going. So A would be this part. So you would color everything in here. Union B, so everything in set B would be included. And then union C, that means everything in set C would be included. So A, union B, union C would be pictured above. Let's contrast that with if it's all intersecting. So for number 2, we've got the intersection of A and B and C. The intersection is the piece that is in common. It's a piece that lies within all 3 circles. You can maybe see that it is going to be this piece. So there is the shading for A intersect B intersect C. And if you look, you will see that set A, right, includes that part. Set B includes that part. And set C also includes that part. So you can see why that is what is in common among all 3 of the sets. It's that little piece there because that lies within all 3 circles. Okay, let's look at number 3. Here we're looking for B union C. So B union C. So union means I'm just going to make the set larger. So I'm going to include everything from the first set. So everything in set B will be included in my union. Because we're asking what elements are in B or C. So here's all the elements in B or C. Here are going to be all the elements in C. So we shade the full circle of B, the full circle of C, and that would be our representation of B union C. All right, let's try number 4. So number 4, we have A union B intersect C. So let's work within the parentheses first. So let's first look at what is included here. So A union B. I'm just going to use hash marks. I think that might be easier. A union B is going to be everything that's included in set A or set B. Now I want to see where that intersects with C. So intersects with C. So the yellow, what does that have in common with C? So where does that overlap with C? Well, C, I'm going to do in green. That's C. So I want to know what's in common. Well, what's in common is what's shaded in yellow and green. So that's going to be, this is yellow and green. This is yellow and green. And this is yellow and green. So all the parts I just colored in this gray color, that is the visual solution by shading in the Venn diagram for number 4. So those 3 sections are included in A union B intersect C. All right, now let's look at number 5. So number 5, we're going to work within the parentheses first again. So first I will look at A union B. Well, I just had that done in yellow. I wish I would have not erased that, but that's okay. A union B is everything that I just colored in red, right? Kind of hash marked in. I want to know where that, then I have to do the not first. So not A union B. So this not. Okay, well that's going to be everything that's not red, right? So that's going to be everything out here. And then I want to know what that has in common with C. So what is blue and also in set C? Well, what's blue and that's also in set C is going to be this part right here. This is blue and it's within that circle C. So this little section at the bottom of set C that I just shaded in gray, that is going to be the solution using a Venn diagram for number 5. So that's the complement of A union B intersect with C. Okay, so now got one more to look at. Let's look at number 6. All right, number 6, we're going to do the complement of A union B union C. So we're going to work within the parentheses first. So the complement of A union B union C. So first of all, the union would be what's in any of these 3 circles. Right. So all of that would be A union B union C. The complement would just be everything else. So it's basically the entire universe minus what's in the circles, right? It's everything that lives within the circles. Within the universe that is not in the circles. So it'd be all this part out here. So that would be the answer to number 6. All the stuff out here that's shaded.